What's up? It's Mike, and you might have noticed the shirt. That's right, it's time for the Yearlies, the yearly year show that happens once a year. And even though I only got started around the 2000th episode, I've gotten really invested in recent years. So let's see if this is my favorite episode of the year. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Yearlies, the yearly year show that happens once a year. And welcome to our 222nd episode. Do you want to start the year right? Well, I already messed that one up. I woke up this morning. Do you want to be a virgin? Oh, I'm one step ahead of you. I always have my copy of New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe on me. Do you want to be physically fit? Yeah, but that would involve me playing real sports. Do you not want to play real sports? Well, the Yearlies and I have just the thing for you. An all-in-one care package that only costs 3 easy payments of all your dignity. Worth it? The Wii U was a phenomenon for quite a long time, and everyone had to get it, which was totally understandable because how else would they play Family Party 30 Great Games outdoor fun? It helps that anything with a pulse happened to be Nintendo's target demographic. Then explain this! With all of that said, it's obvious that out of all the consoles, the console that won the 7th generation was, drumroll please, the Wii by a mile. It wasn't even close. Damn it! Starting off with tennis, well, it's tennis alright. Thought it was basketball. And if you were a betting man, I hate to break it to you, it's definitely baseball too. There's innings, batting, pitching, you looking stupid, everything that makes baseball baseball. Bowling, more like boring. The most fun training game here is just a home run derby, with the rest being like, see how often you can hit a ball against a wall. Oh yeah, my favorite hobby! The last game mode available in Wii Sports is Fitness, which every day picks 3 random games from training and then at the end calculates your Wii Fitness age. It's the most accurate measurement of your level of fitness. Just ask my doctor. Thank you. I'm 56?! Practice order play in the first mode is Duel, and it's a simple 1v1 between you and either a CPU or a friend. Guess which one applies to me? Last up for sword to play is Showdown, and this one is actually really cool. There are 10 whole levels to choose from, and you automatically walk down a path while killing every me in your path. That checks out. Starting off the second row, it's basketball. What the heck? I thought this was tennis. And the next one up, bowling makes its grand return, and it's actually a grand one. Gone are the uncontrollable curves the ball would endure in the first game, and I could actually land a strike in this version. Finally! Well, I finally cured myself from being 56, and I followed all of the steps that the Yearlies told me, so this year should go great. Just don't ask why my copy of New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is wet. What's up? It's Mike, and I got some bad news, guys. My copy of Batman Brave and the Bold, the video game, recently went missing. And in completely unrelated news, I also have nothing else to eat tonight. I guess I gotta go to Target. They always have something good to eat. I blacked out for a second. This certainly isn't the case for every game, with some of them eventually ending up in clearance bins. Most other people also like to refer to it as the trash can. But what results in a game suffering this horrific fate? Well, not having NBA Live 19 as your name is a good start. If one of your parents is named EA Sports, run. But what kind of games do we have from the clearance bin today? Well, I already don't have a ton of faith because I didn't even find these games in a big plastic can. I found them next to the bedding, and just off first glance, a new mattress probably would have been more useful. I already have some issues before I've even opened the case. Since the dawn of time, information about the features and modes a video game has to offer can be found on the back of the box. Minus EA Sports, they just give you a middle finger. Opening up the case and the disc isn't even in the holder, which is a fantastic sign. And wait a second, is this a little leaflet with the controls on it? So you're telling me that you can't put all the features of your game on the back of the box, but you can mass produce this tiny useless piece of paper that has the controls on it when the controls are almost on every screen in the actual game? I also got the 1 edition, whatever that means. So let's chuck this bad boy in the PS4 and see what happens. It didn't work. Alright, I can't wait to play my brand new video game, and oh, I see it has to copy some data from off the disk, but that's fine, PS4 games do that. And it has to download some updates too. Got it. Let me check to see how those are going, and wait a second. Why are the updates bigger than the actual game? I can't figure out why. After mastering the controls I've only seen about 17 to 18 times, we get to create our character, and I think I finally figured out what the 1 edition meant. And it means, by default, your character's name is just the one. You expect me to change perfection? First up is court battles. If I wanted to play Phoenix right, I would. Here you protect your home court while trying to take over other people's court. So I start searching for other players to conquer, and that's interesting. No one's showing up in the list. It's fine, it could just be a bug, so let's refresh it and try again. And still nothing. Okay, so one of two things could be happening here. Either A, I'm doing something wrong, or B, it just means no one's playing this game. Okay, I give up. NBA Live 19 is a horrible experience from opening the box to playing the actual game just to figure out that 0 out of the 5 main game modes work. All open world games just feel the exact same to me, and I'm not really a huge fan of them. So much to the point where even though most of them aren't even open world games, I haven't even managed to bring myself to beat a Zelda game yet. Fuck, I knew that would happen. What's up? It's Mike, and guess who just got out of gaming opinion jail? This guy. Turns out all you needed to do was tell the guards that you liked Majora's Mask over Ocarina of Time. It was fun in there for about 5 months, but while I was in there, I wrote down a bucket list of things that I just had to do when I got out of prison, and I got it right here. I don't have a whole lot to do. In the span of the last time I talked about the Game Boy Advance, my game collection went from this to this, and even my device collection doubled too. Oh, don't worry about how much money I spent on this, because I certainly don't. So yeah, that internet connection was a load of shit, but at least it had a backlit screen, right? Right? This is playable. You wouldn't get the privilege of playing your Game Boy Advance indoors without one of those funky worm lights until 2003 with the release of the Game Boy Advance SP. The SP in Game Boy Advance SP either meant special or stupid people. I'm personally team stupid people. It's a little uncomfortable to play on. The shoulder buttons are laughably tiny and the overall feel was just kind of cramped. Welcome to the Game Boy Advance, where you can either shoot yourself in the eyes or in the hands. At least your feet are safe. One of the coolest things I've ever collected are boxed Game Boy Advance games. Looking through the different inserts and reading through the manuals is like going through a time capsule. And it wasn't until I read the manual for Yoshi's Island that I figured out the game had a built-in sleep mode that turns the screen off but keeps the game going. Like, how cool is that? It doesn't take a lot to please me. Now, do I recommend buying Game Boy Advance games complete in box? Yeah, I don't need surgery anyways. Another option I've tried are these mini boxes, replication boxes that are extremely shrunk down that I got off the website miniboxgaming.com that take up significantly less space than an actual GBA box. You can definitely fit a cartridge in one, but to me they're just a bit too small for my taste. Okay, I may have bought something from a website called miniboxgaming.com, but I still don't think it would be this small. I think I'll sue. The Game Boy Advance is an amazing handheld device, especially in today's day and age where everything seems to need an update here and there. Even the 3DS still needs to update a game every once in a while. Being able to just pop in a game from 3 generations worth of handhelds and being able to take it with you on the go with insane battery life, the GBA holds up more than well enough in the present day. But there's just one issue I have. Just one little thing I haven't mentioned yet. They fucked up Miss Pac-Man. How do you fuck up Miss Pac-Man? What's up? It's Mike, and recently I've been trying to make everything I could ever need portable and accessible on the go. See? Look at this. All my food, portable. All my water, portable. All the money I ever had, portable. All my Mario games. Well, at least I have all of my money. Portable game systems and Mario games, 2 things that go together like mayonnaise and nothing. Mario games have been a big success story for Nintendo as well, and by the year 1989 rolled around, he had 4 games to call his own, but they just had to make 1 more. Okay, actually around 200 more. Tetris sold around 35 million copies, making it the best-selling Game Boy game of all time. Super Mario Land, by comparison, only sold a measly 18 million copies. Now, if I sold 18 million units, I wouldn't be mad. Just disappointed. There's one thing I definitely need to mention before we get into the topic of Super Mario Land. And that thing is this was the first Mario game to not have the original creator Shigeru Miyamoto at the helm. And say what you will about his impact on the Mario series as a whole, I would say he definitely has more hits than misses. Until we got to Super Mario Galaxy 2. You son of a bitch. We could have had Pikmin. His lack of involvement with the project shaped it immensely, with the Mario Land team coming up with an entire new land for him to jump around in called Sarasa Land. I guess that's why they didn't call it Super Mario City Block. Not only did it have cool new environments, enemies, and replaced the Fire Flower with the Super Ball power-up, but it also introduced a future staple for all of the Mario sports games out there, Princess Daisy. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of Princess Peach. Holy I love orange. What we'll talk about now is the actual game of Super Mario Land. And honestly, it's pretty okay. Welcome to Hot Take Central. Next, I'll tell you about how good Super Mario 64 is. Don't get me wrong, this game is definitely still playable and pretty fun, but it feels way more like a Mario Game Boy tech demo or proof of concept. Let me explain. To start, this game only takes 20 minutes to beat. I've brushed my teeth longer than that. You have Mario Zone, where you're exploring inside of a giant Mario that's built up of Legos. You have Macro Zone, where you explore a house but from the perspective of being very tiny. You also have Tree Zone, where you're just climbing up a tree, and Pumpkin Zone, where you get attacked by brooms and Jason Voorhees. That's where most like the Mario Land series ended, but everyone knows all good things come in threes. The next and final game in the Super Mario Land series didn't even let you play as Mario. I need a lawyer. And was called Wario Land Super Mario Land 3. Never mind. I think the Mario Land 3 subtitle on the game, though, was a poor choice. I think they added it on to draw up more sales, but did that really work? They thought they could fool me. The guy who bought the entire Super Mario Advance series, even though they were all remakes of games that have already been remade or weren't that old at the time of release, into buying Wario Land because it said Super Mario Land 3 on it? Get out of here. Another thing is the second world of this game is the water level world. What villain does that? What's up, it's Mike, and welcome to Mike's Game Tips, where I tell you how to make a game. You can definitely trust me. Look at all these games I developed. At least the number's the same. Anywho's, here's a free game tip from Mike. Don't do that. Something I realized as I was playing through the Mario Land series was that why aren't any of these games a part of the Super Mario Advance series? Why remake games like Super Mario World and Super Mario Bros. 3? Games that have already either been remade or still look and play wonderfully. Super Mario Land could have definitely used a touch up to its physics and graphics, and Super Mario Land 2 with GBA graphics would look amazing. It couldn't have taken that much effort to port over, could it? Welcome back to Mike's Game Tips, where I tell you how to develop a game. Here's another free tip on the house. Just listen to me, I know better. What's up, it's Mike, and I don't know what to do today. Maybe I wrote something on my calendar, that'll help me out. Yeah, I do always tend to forget about Sonic and the Black Knight Sunday. Sonic? Don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. Had a great time in the late 2000s. By 2009, his most recent console game was universally critically acclaimed. The one before that. The one before that. The one before that. Sonic had a rocky history with 3D games. Damn it! Sega was desperate to turn their fortunes around and did what any reasonable person would do in that situation. Make a sequel to Sonic and the Secret Rings. Sonic and the Black Knight was released on March 3rd, 2009, and continued the trends of Sonic games by being bad. Sonic and the Black Knight barely even lasted a year on the market before being completely delisted by Sega in 2010. At least I managed to make it 18 years on the market, but I also didn't sell 1.2 million copies, so I guess it's a tie. After all that eye candy, we get treated to another smaller cutscene that's in this beautiful watercolor art style. I wondered how they made it look so good. How did they do it? It didn't work. The next thing you might notice is this giant sword Sonic is holding, and it's both the most unique and worst part of this game. For one, the idea of Sonic swinging a sword around and going at super speed, destroying everyone in his path is inherently a cool idea. I'd put that in B tier on the tier list of ideas, right next to Mario playing cricket. But in execution, I'm sorry, but this is just kind of miserable. When my favorite character to play as is Knuckles due to his ability to glide over all the enemies, then you know you messed up somewhere. One successful waggle session later, for the record, I was expecting to say those words this week, and
I have been disgraced. Only death can remove this stain upon my honor.
Wait, what? 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 Excuse me? You can get certain items for completing levels, with some being equipable. And I shit you not, one of the first items I got in the game was an item that actively made your proficiency worse. Okay, A, I don't even know what my proficiency means. And B, I'm still angry. That was Sonic and the Black Knight. Now, did it hold up or was good or did more than 3 things right? No. And you have to respect my opinion. Because anyone who owns 5 copies of Jonas on the DS is right. What's up? It's Mike, and you may be wondering why I'm all dressed up. A, that's none of your business. And B, I've been invited to a funeral today. Don't know who it's for though, but I can't wait to see who the lucky person is. How do they get me every time? Okay, that's a bit harsh. Metroid does have some die-hard fans. But compared to Pokemon, Mario, and Zelda, Metroid can't really hold a candle to some of the most iconic series in all of gaming history. And I say that as someone who has never played a Metroid game before. That's right, I'm a Metroid virgin. Some would call that stupid, I call it a hobby. Sure, I heard some about Metroid Fusion, but basically everywhere I heard a conversation on the GBA games to get, Metroid Zero Mission just kept barging in. Even with all the positive press I was hearing, it still took me quite a while to actually get it, due to my top 11 least favorite letters of all time. Not giving a shit about Zelda games is my other hobby. I never grew up with games like Link to the Past, so now I just whine about them as an adult. But I started to get bored of being the same, so I decided to invest into some character development. That character development cost me $82. Was it worth it? Depends on who you ask. For the longest time, I'd avoid the genre as a whole because every single time I tried one of them, I got lost, got bored, and stopped playing, all in about the span of 2 hours. I know the whole point of these kinds of games is getting lost, and that's where a ton of people find the fun in Metroidvania games. This is making a lot more sense now. The movement is very fast and tight with hyper-responsive controls, and I would seriously put it up there with Super Mario Odyssey and Guilty Party on Wii for the best controlling games of all time. Guess which one is the lie? I dare you. Not only do they feel amazing, but you feel amazing while using them. They almost helped me forget the incident. What's up? It's Mike, and that's right, I'm in hell. I'm not really sure how I got here, though. Nintendo was a with the GBA. Okay, maybe it was that. While Nintendo, specifically with Mario and the GBA, did do a total of 1 cool thing with Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, the rest of their offerings were lacking. Now that's my nice way of saying lazy. There's a series of remasters on the GBA that people have probably heard about more than any of the other ports listed so far, and that's the Super Mario Advance series. The series is kinda weird. There's a game that you could consider a port, a game you could consider a remaster, and a game that you can consider bad. The Super Mario Advance series consists of 0 original games, and it wouldn't be until the DS where a new semi-original 2D Mario platformer would be released. I guess you could call it new. Literally 3/4 of the games in the Super Mario Advance series starred in the compilation Super Mario All-Stars on the SNES a couple of years prior. So why not just release a Super Mario All-Stars Advanced? Because they had to make absolutely sure that everyone had at minimum 4 ways to play the remastered Mario Bros. Arcade game. Actually 5. I mean, the order they released the games in is just strange. First, you get Super Mario Bros. 2, sure, makes sense. To a murderer. Then Super Mario World and Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. Okay, the murderer really wouldn't get that one. And then Super Mario Bros. 3. The even weirder part is that while I consider Super Mario Advance 4 Super Mario Bros. 3 the highest quality conversion in the series, it's still based on an NES game, and Super Mario World makes for the much better base game. So why release Super Mario Bros. 3 last? Where's the first Super Mario Bros? Or hell, where's remasters of the Super Mario Land series? And now the murderer is just completely lost. Coming clean, I had never actually played the original Mario Bros. Arcade machine before playing this version, and having still not done that, I can confidently say that I actually enjoyed my time with the game. Honestly, knowing Nintendo, I'm surprised they didn't just go the extra mile and release this as a completely separate cartridge. Look, I bought Star Fox Zero. I'd buy that too. It controls like you expect it to. The backgrounds for some of the phases and bonus rooms genuinely look really great, especially the snowy one. If anything, this shows that old arcade games can work especially well with this form factor and hardware. So what the f happened to you? They also added some lovely bit crunched voice clips for all the characters, including Toad. Yeah, I didn't need sleep anyways. Next up is Super Mario Advance 2 Super Mario World. And for the sake of full transparency, this was the one I owned and played the most as a kid. So it's the good one. And that's just scratching the surface. It introduced Yoshi, added this spin jump, and largely set the standard for future 2D Mario games. And by set the standard, I mean they just repeated it 4 times over. See, when the original Game Boy Advance came out, everyone praised the screen's complete lack of any sort of lighting whatsoever. Okay, I'm sorry, I lied. It's largely the reason why the colors in Super Mario Advance 2 look off. Now, on the original GBA screen, I'm sure it looks great. Keywords being I'm sure. Can't really tell. Luigi even has some characteristics that, from what I can tell, are unique to just this game. Like if he hits a coin block with multiple coins in it, they'll all just fly out after one hit. And now we all have a better chance of winning at Jeopardy! So all in all, compared to the original, it isn't the best way to play this game, but what this game will always have over the original is more detailed Mario ass. Finally giving the people what they want. I also have a fun story with this game as a very young kid, with this game actually being the first ever GBA game that I played. Did that mean it was worth spending $85 on a complete in-box copy? I mean, obviously, yeah. Last up to bat, and easily the most interesting game in the series, we have Super Mario Bros. 3 Super Mario Advance 4. Now that's more like something I'd name my kid. I wouldn't really go out of my way to buy any of these games if I weren't me, due to the fact that there are better versions of these games out there available anywhere and conveniently, especially with stuff like NES and SNES Online on the Switch. But I'm me, and at the end of the day, all of these games still would make a pretty neat addition to any Game Boy Advance collector's library, even if they are a bit odd. That's all it took? What's up, it's Mike, and I don't know who I am. To fix this, I decided to take a personality test. First question, what's my name? That's a trick question. Oh, that's all it took. Well, it'll take a while to process the results, so why not pass the time with a little Mario Pinball Land? So yeah, Super Mario Ball exists. Who doesn't? The GBA was a relatively successful endeavor for Nintendo. In law states, if Nintendo sells 1 unit of a game console, it will get a Mario Tennis game. Just check the Constitution, it even has the Virtual Boy in here. Cruel and unusual punishment. To talk about Mario vs. Donkey Kong, we have to not talk about Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Oh, thank God. Instead, I need to hand a pretty hearty mention over to the 1994 Game Boy classic Donkey Kong. At first, it looks like a simple part of the Donkey Kong arcade. There are 100 more stages after that. The best part about these new mechanics is that they're all introduced via these amazing little cutscenes, which are each packed with so much charm, and I love all of them. They show you exactly how the mechanic works in an entertaining way without any kinds of annoying tutorials that get in your way. You should take some notes. As mentioned earlier, I love the cutscenes that display the mechanics and all the sprite work from the Game Boy game. They still hold up perfectly even today. On the other hand, Mario vs. Donkey Kong almost went for a Donkey Kong Country style approach, and it looks okay. Yeah, this is gorgeous. If you enjoyed Donkey Kong 94 or just need a solid puzzle platformer to play on GBA, then Mario vs. Donkey Kong definitely does the trick. But if you're looking for a real puzzle, why does this exist? Finally, I can put this degree to good use! For one, it came out after the DS came out, and for two, Bowser's arm on the cover just looks... Actually, I have no clue what's going on there. It gets even better though, as Mario Party Advance is the only Mario Party that I'm aware of that doesn't support 4 players. At all. Honestly, I can forgive the release date. Hell, I can even forgive the wonky box art. But can someone please tell me what the point of this game is, like, at all? Someone, please. Mario Kart Super Circuit is a fascinating game to me. Out of all the Mario Kart games out there, this is the one I easily hear the least about. I've heard more people talk about Toe Turnpike itself than Mario Kart Super Circuit. But why is that? Well, to start, it sure is Mario Kart. Half the courses are also taken directly from Super Mario Kart, which started the trend of Mario Kart games taking courses from old games and making them into retro cups, along with all the new tracks. And that's about the only notable thing in Mario Kart Super Circuit. If you wanted to play Mario Kart on GBA, then what else were you gonna play? Mario Pinball Land, or Super Mario Ball in Europe is... well, I'll just let the opening cutscene play out. My life will never be the same. Before we get lost wondering where we as a species went wrong, let's talk about the gameplay that was the catalyst of that conversation, and it's, not good. Impossible. Maybe it's because I'm not a giant pinball guy. Now, yes, the rumors are true. I do hate balls. But the physics just feel awful. If you don't like pinball, then you won't like Mario Pinball Land. But if you love pinball, then you still won't like Mario Pinball Land. Oh, my personality test is done! Finally, I've been waiting so long! Let's see who I am! That didn't help much. What's up? It's Mike, and I got some great news!
You're gonna die.
But they did say I had enough time to talk about Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga before I croak, and thank God, I've always wanted my last words to be Luigi's a bitch. What do you get when you have a Mario RPG that doesn't prominently feature Luigi? Me that doesn't care. They eventually realized the absolutely huge gap in the market for a Mario RPG on the Game Boy Advance where you can play as Luigi. It's a very broad market. Mario & Luigi's Superstar Saga was one of the first Game Boy Advance games I ever played. And it's gotta be my third #1 favorite Game Boy Advance game. Superstar Saga nails exactly what it sets out to do, which is be a funny, fast-paced, creative, and short RPG with more Bully and Luigi than you could ever ask for. He got a whole year to himself. Don't feel bad for him. I've never bothered to mention the story in any of the prior Mario GBA games I've talked about because unless you really needed to hear me say 2 words, you wouldn't care. For this game, however, it would take at least 5 words. Eventually, they run back into Cackletta and literally beat the soul out of her body, which eventually gets put into Bowser's body, creating Bowsetta. Out of this house. So was that a sprawling story that made us question our beliefs and why we're here? Yeah, I'd say so. But who cares about all of that? Let's get into why everyone plays a game with Mario on the cover, which is the music. Gameplay's a close fourth. This gameplay is sex. It has to be. Learning the correct timings with every regular attack and bros move is ridiculously satisfying. And every time I see that beautiful combination of 5 letters, I want to pump my fist in the air. The air fought back. There has to be a bit of space between battles, however, and that's where the Bean Kingdom comes into play. This isn't your granddad's Mushroom Kingdom. We got fucking beans now. Hell yeah! Actually, this game just looks amazing in general. Even the box art is especially well done. Now we finally know what kind of socks Luigi wears. Oh, thank God. I was afraid I was gonna die in peace. Is Mike gonna say the sprite work in a GBA game is great for the 4th time in the past month? Just who do you think I am? Me? The sprite work is phenomenal. I'm running out of words. This fun platforming does come at a bit of a price though, with that being that the controls can get pretty cramped, especially near the end of the game once you have everything unlocked. I wouldn't necessarily blame the developers for this, as Nintendo looked at their SNES controller from the year 1990 and decided that it just simply wasn't possible 11 years later. It just couldn't be done. No! And with all of that finally said, Luigi is a bitch. Hello, this is the Dead speaking. Wait. What do you mean you were kidding? What's up? It's Mike, and have you ever been in this situation before? I wanna play fake real sports, but not on my Wii. No? You ever just give up? Nintendo can be quite the fickle company. They can try and compete with traditional game systems and fail, go the complete opposite direction and massively succeed, then they can somehow do both and sell about the same amount of units as the population of Illinois, and then they can do that again and sell more copies than the population of Illinois in 10 months. If I was a betting man, I'd just quit. So when the successor to the Wii was announced in the form of the Wii U, most expected that to be the end of the Wii Sports series. Turns out most only wished it ended. The Wii U was doing its best to catch up to the prior generation of consoles, with the inclusion of HD gaming hoping to sway at least one person to just for the love of God buy a Wii U. Another thing Nintendo needed desperate help in was kickstarting its online gaming capabilities, with one only needing to look at the aforementioned brawls online to see that they needed help. That's fairly subtle. They needed a game that could not only work great as an online title, but also a game that could help kickstart some digital game sales off their eShop. And they decided the perfect candidate for that would be Smash Bros. For Wii U. Only after they tried Wii Sports Club though. And as with most on his first attempts, this game fucking blows. I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and say that when most people buy a game, they want something complete that only takes one purchase to get. So Wii Sports Club said, fuck you. But they did only digitally punch you in the face, not physically. Physically, the story of Wii Sports Club is relatively clean. With just one installment of Jesus Christ, you too can own Disappointment completely on disc. They released all 5 sports from the original game out in waves, with bowling and tennis first arriving in November 2013, followed up by golf in December 2013. Why was golf released by itself? I don't know, ask God. So let's say you have an absolutely burning passion to play Wii Sports Club, but the thought of actually owning it makes you want to hurl. Just play Wii Sports. Or you can buy a day pass for the low price of $1.99. You too can know what it's like to waste $1.99. Gee, I always wondered. You know how earlier I talked about them releasing different sports in waves with some being paired up? Let me guess. They didn't sell them like that. They didn't sell them like that. I'll buy a lottery ticket. After putting in the disc and booting it up for the first time, it had to install an update. That's okay, this has never been a bad sign before in the past, so it shouldn't be an issue. It took 10 minutes to download. That's not even half of it. When you actually load into a game, Why does this look worse than the Wii game? I'm not sure if my eyes are failing, but this game across the board just looks way duller compared to its predecessor, and I can't even say the textures or anything look that much better. This game wasn't necessarily meant to be an HD remaster of the original game. Its main focus was adding online, so let's see how that is. So we have a tiny problem. But that's not the only online features in the game, it also has Miiverse integration. So the entire point of Wii Sports Club was for Nintendo to show off its network capabilities. And just 9 years later, none of the online features work or are being used. All of the games themselves are pretty much unchanged from the original. Tennis has some power shot kind of stuff. Bowling is the exact same, but with the inclusion of the 100 pin mode that makes a return from resort, which is kind of nice. Baseball is actively worse to play, and they managed to completely ruin boxing. Not boxing! See, most thought it was impossible to fuck up boxing. Sure, the nunchuck and the Wiimote control scheme from the first game didn't work so hot, but it worked! And then Nintendo realized that that made too much sense. When picking up boxing, you have the option to play with either one hand and one Wii remote, or two hands holding two different Wii remotes. But why? How does this remaster of a Wii game not support the nunchuck at all? It's not like the Wii U couldn't support it. In fact, here's a few of the games that supported it. Yeah, that's right, even Star Fox Zero supported it. That's 1 point to Star Fox Zero. Something no one should ever have to say. When Nintendo Switch Sports was first announced in February of 2022, most people either went, "Oh yay," or, "Oh yeah." Speaking of $80, Nintendo Switch Sports cost a whole 50 doubloons for the physical version, and while the digital version only costs 40, it doesn't come with the leg strap, and I absolutely needed a second one for use on the weekends. I know I've been a tiny bit negative so far, so let's be a little bit more positive. Even though you can play through everything this game has to offer in about an hour, most of the games on offer here are actually pretty fun. Except soccer, so let's start with that. The last new sport to join the fray is volleyball, and this one also turned out to be way more fun than I expected. The entire name of the game is timing, and as someone who sleeps with Bowser's Inside Story tucked under my pillow every night, you'd be right to guess that I'm a fairly big fan of games that require good timing. And that's all $50 gets you nowadays. A leg strap and a fun but definitely not complete video game. I know I'm a part of the problem by purchasing these kinds of Nintendo releases, but come on, where else am I gonna get a Mario Golf Super Rush themed drink coaster? What's up? It's Mike, and I've talked about stupid shit 24 times. I have a vendetta against even numbers, though, so let's figure out something else to talk about. I got nothing. Maybe it's time I should pick up a new hobby, so let's try cooking. Let's try and make some eggs off this recipe. Shouldn't have any issues. But before we do that, let's talk about the presentation of this recipe. The fonts are solid, all readable, and in the English language, which is good considering I'm only fluent in 2 languages. The other one's Mario. Now let's see how effective the recipe is. I throw some eggs in the pan and... I can't do this, there isn't enough Pichu. The first game in the series had a lot of smashing, and people loved it, so for the second game in the series, they decided to add even more smashing. Quite honestly, every game could use a bit more of that. And then there's a character whose main mechanic is that they hurt themselves, in Fox. I should've known this was gonna happen. This game feels really tight and smooth to control, with all of the characters perfectly responding to inputs and... Wait a second. That's funny. I don't remember Smash Bros. Melee having this much golf. So we might have a tiny problem, but hey, maybe the games I have digitally on my Switch are safe. Okay, you know, that's not a big deal, but maybe the games on N64 Online are okay. Okay, we have slightly more than a tiny problem here, but just what the hell happened? I should check the news, that usually takes the pressure off.
Welcome went back to NN, and no, it's not what it sounds like. In a shocking move made by the President of the United States just a few hours ago, he has stepped aside and let the CEO of IGN completely take over the country. And within just 2 seconds of being in power, he has completely changed every game that's ever existed into golf. We don't know what he wants, and frankly, I don't care, because I can go on playing Tiger Woods PGA Tour 08 till the day I die.
Okay, this is slightly larger than a tiny problem. Can't believe I'm gonna do this, but it's either this or just not talking about stupid video games. When most people think about golfing related video games, the second thing that pops into their head is the Mario Golf series. That first thought hopefully being that I need to see a doctor. Mario Golf opens with a cute little cutscene where we get to see my second favorite Mario character, Mario. You can't beat Blarg. Then we see Luigi, and unfortunately I hear him too.
That's so wonderful.
I don't know what his voice sounds like, but I'm worried. Peach is up next, followed by Plum? Gotta mark Mario down to 3rd. After a short shot of Baby Mario and Yoshi, we get slapped with the title screen. And now I'm just confused why they chose to highlight Baby Mario over Bowser. Nothing screams of play my game like a little f***ing baby. You know what I love about playing Mario games? Playing as Mario. This is all you get when you start the game. The worst version of Mario, 2 characters named after fruits, and Charlie. And now he's down to 4th. When it comes to the actual gameplay of Mario Golf, it's pretty simple. Go for the end zone. Character animations are pretty good, and although they will certainly get blown out of the water in about 26 sentences, it's definitely a welcome addition that adds some nice personality to the game as a whole. I also like Boo as the little wind indicator. It reminds me I'm playing a Mario game every time I look at Charlie. It's easy to forget. I don't think the Second Coming of Christ will be a better sequel than this. And what ties it all together is the silky smooth 60 FPS frame rate. If my funeral isn't at 60 FPS, I'm gonna be pissed. So far, my only real complaint is I can't play as Koopa Troopa.
Nice shot.
This roster is further helped by their amazing animations after every hole depending on the result. Mario Golf Toadstool Tour is the best golf game that I've ever played. It's easily in the top 50%. The developers did everything they could to make this the definitive Mario Golf game. And by every single measure I can think of, they completely succeeded. Alright, 2 golf games down and all of my games are still golf, so let's try out a couple more of them. Maybe they'll be as good as Toadstool Tour. Mario Golf Advanced Tour has role-playing golf proudly displayed on its case. Wow, the 2 slowest game genres combined? Sounds great. Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort Golfing is pretty tame, but where it gets really wild is Wii Sports Club Golf. This is some Star Fox Zero type shit. Tiger Woods PGA Tour 08 by EA Sports is overall a pretty good game. Everybody's golf? Then where's Waldo? What the golf? Mario Golf Super Rush is one of the most boring and generic golf games I've ever played. I mean, just look at the menus. It instantly puts you to sleep if you aren't careful. The roster is easily the best part of the game, with the inclusion of King Bob-omb and dear god anything that isn't Blarg. Something that gets boring even faster is the sorry excuse for an adventure mode, which is essentially a really long, drawn-out tutorial. And unless you really like hearing random Mario enemy voice clips every 2 seconds,
Hey, hey! Yo, oh! Yeah, yeah! Hey, hey!
just don't even bother. It has as much adventure as me going to the bathroom. Yeah, that was a 7 out of 10. Out of all the types of games to have a laggy online service, golf is probably the best one for that. For the most part, that mentality does hold up, but there's one other tiny issue with Super Rush's online. No one's playing it. I can't do it. I just can't do it anymore, man. If I talk about one more golf game, I'm gonna implode. It's more polite than exploding. I just don't know what to do.
Hey all, Scott here. I'm the founder of the Anti-Golf Club, an organization founded under the belief that golf needs to just die already. I got the idea after my 5-year prison sentence, where I was arrested for assault and battery, and before you ask, yes, they were on a golf course, and in my line of sight, they had it coming. I formed a world-class team to help me with my goal of getting rid of that sport you watch when nothing else is going on.
Hi, my name is Jim, and I find golf to be an extremely minor inconvenience.
Hi, my name is Anthony, and golf took my family away from me. Ignore the drinks, ignore the drinks.
We're looking for new members, so call today at 1-800-HATE-GOLF. That's 1-800-HATEGOL. And our monthly activity for August is taking down golf.
Who's your favorite golfer?
John Madden.
Great. We'll be right over.
Thanks for coming on such short notice.
It's alright. We were running from the police anyway.
Oh, what did you do?
Oh, nothing. We just tried to break into the White House.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Well, there's also the assault charges.
Hey, it ran into my fists. Don't blame me.
What were they doing?
Existing 50 miles within a golf course.
And it's not like we broke all their bones or anything.
Yeah, it felt nice, so I let them keep their kneecaps.
Oh, that's great. How far did you get into the White House?
We made it as far as the front of the Oval Office, but there were a few too many kneecaps, and we didn't exactly have the manpower to borrow all of them forcefully.
So what if I joined the team?
Oh, then we probably wouldn't make it as far.
Come on, I have to join. If I talk about another golf game, I'm gonna go insane.
Well, I guess we don't really want you going outsane, so I guess you can come.
Mr. President, I'm gonna need you to return my copy of Donkey Kong Country Returns back to normal, or I'm gonna vote for Pac-Man again.
But Mr. Mike. You know I can't do that.
Well, this must be my brain, seeing as it's completely empty except for a floating book in the Mario head from Mario Teaches Typing 2.
I'm going to fly for you.
But what if he's right? What if I'm just a rip-off of everyone else? What if my opinion doesn't matter? What if everything I've done up to this point doesn't matter at all? What if it's all been pointless?
Well, we are all going to die someday.
I don't know who said that, but that didn't really help.
It's me, the book.
Oh yay, a floating book is talking to me. Now I can add being insane on my to-do list for today next to getting fucked.
Maybe not fully, but in all honesty, that doesn't matter right now. What does matter is that you understand something.
That something better be more helpful than your first comment.
Oh, it is. What you have to understand is, you do have something more unique to bring to the table than just not talking about golf. I mean, sure, you do share a lot of motifs and ideas with other people, but no one can put together meaningless stuff like you can. Who else can manage to find a way to review WarioWare Inc. on 3 separate occasions? Who else would even mention the existence of Mario Pinball Land? Who else would spend their Thanksgiving talking about Donkey Kong, then spending their Christmas ranting about Wario? Who else would actually care about Scooby-Doo First Rides in the Spooky Swamp to spend more than 10 minutes talking about them? Everyone should be allowed and encouraged to share their opinion on dumb Nintendo games. Everyone has a different way of complaining about meaningless stuff. Anyone can talk about Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and none of them can present it in the way that you do.
You know, you'd make for a great therapist.
It's one of my hobbies, next to being an hallucination.
Well, I guess it's time for me to finally go back out there and take down IGN in a way only I can. Thanks, Definitely Real Book.
No problem, and good luck.
You know what, Mr. President?
What?
You managed to turn all my games into golf. Great job, by the way. But I already had a game in my possession with golf in it.
Wait. No!
Did you really not see this coming?
No! All the games are turning back to normal. But I'm not defeated. I'm just getting started.
Well, I think only one can play at this game.
I only thought you had 5 copies. No!
Yo!
You actually got him.
Yeah, but blowing up the White House was a bit excessive.
So, what are you gonna do with him now?
I figured we should just do what Mario would do.
And what the is that?
Take him to a golf course.
But I don't even like golf.
What? What's up? It's Mike, and I've been hard at work making a list of all the things I'm thankful for. But I feel like I'm missing something. Oh shit, I forgot about Diddy Kong. It's been a yearly tradition ever since last year for me to talk about the first video game character ever made. And no, Triangle from Space Wars never counted. I am Geometry's #1 hater. Since Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze was the first game I tackled and Nintendo would rather put out DC Superhero Girls Teen Power before a new DKC entry, we're gonna have to go back in time to before the release of Tropical Freeze, the dark ages of 2004. Ah, a great year. The only bad thing that happened was my birth. It seemed like nothing was going to stop the rise of both the series and the studio. That is a weird way to spell nothing. But in 2008, Shigeru Miyamoto himself actually expressed interest in a new Donkey Kong game, quote-unquote, totally by chance. Even God wanted a new Donkey Kong Country at this rate. Donkey Kong Country Returns starts off with a story. I don't want to talk about how much money I just lost. It's easy to understand motion controls launched games like Wii Sports and Wii Play into the sales stratosphere, and there were a ton of other games that used the Wiimote in fun and creative ways. Notice something about this list? Can't seem to find Guilty Party. The Wiimote doesn't just add motion controls, however, it also adds sound. Lots and lots of sound. The Wiimote does have a speaker built into it, and Donkey Kong Country Returns has to be in the running for getting the most mileage out of it. Because the Wiimote makes sounds for every single collectible you get, every single punch you land on the bosses and ending barrels. But even funnier, it plays a sound for every single banana you get. And I mean every single one. Is it necessary at all? Well, let me ask you this. Do you need to breathe? Speaking of Tropical Freeze, great level design, and Donkey Kong Country Returns has that in spades. The levels themselves are unfortunately not as memorable as the one seen in the Wii U hit, but that's literally the highest bar you can strive for, so they get a pass this time. But they better get it right the next time. Seriously, I went from beating everything first to second try to dying 8 times a level. It never felt unfair though. Except with this one part in World 8, where I just legitimately couldn't tell if the pillar was a part of the background or if it was in the foreground. Man, if only the screen I was playing on was much smaller and had stereoscopic 3D, and also the game ran much worse and it was also called Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D. When it comes to the 3D effect, it's okay. It's one of the 3DS games that I think could really benefit from the 3D being on, but at least to me, the effect can be really overpowering, and it fried my eyes so badly I had to get another pair of glasses. It isn't all negative though, as we can finally roll using a button press. Yes! On the other hand, you can only use the circle pad for movement, as the D-pad does absolutely nothing. No! Come on, the D-pad is right there. It would have been so easy to add on as an additional control method. But nope, they thought the circle pad was enough. At the end of the day, Donkey Kong Country Returns is a really great game. The performance is spot on, the button controls and overall game feel is fantastic, the level designs are second only to its sequel, the music is bopping, and the difficulty curve is fairly smooth, all combined to make a solid 2D platformer that any fan of the genre can pick up and enjoy. But I can't help that feel that this game will never reach its full potential though. Imagine the Wii game's performance with complete button controls and a great D-pad for movement while being able to take it with you on the go and play on a TV. What an amazing game that would be.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the estate there was a single creature stirring, and he could hardly wait.
What's up? It's Mike, and it's that time of year again, the day where it's socially acceptable to break and enter. Well, at least for one guy. Santa Claus, Kris Kringle, sexiest man alive, whatever you want to call him, is making his yearly rounds tonight, and I am finally prepared to meet him face to face. Someone has to pay for giving me Paper Mario Sticker Star. Christmas is upon us, and the main thing Christmas is known for is rampant consumerism. Friends and family's a close fourth. Can you blame me? Now that I'm getting old in my years, it's definitely harder for my family to shop for me. When I was a kid, I only got things 2 times a year, for my birthday and Christmas, and at those times, all I ever wanted were video games. But now that I can go out and buy a 6th copy of Jonas on the DS whenever I want, it's not as big of a deal. Before this point, I dipped my toes into the world of gaming, with my first experience being Chess Titans on Windows Vista. If you think that's gameplay, just wait till you see Purple play. I'll get into later how amazing these games are as a combo, but let's talk about the Wii itself for a bit, and this system is great. I mean, sure, it hasn't aged the best, but neither is my grandma, and she's still great. This was the first major indication of the direction Nintendo would go in for years to come. That direction being doing funky shit. Sure, the DS in 2004 was the first indication that Nintendo was going off the deep end, but the Wii solidified that. The big things that generation were high definition and online gaming, and at this point, Sony and Microsoft had pretty defined controller layouts. Can you see where I'm going with this? No. Nintendo basically had two options: keep trying to directly compete with PlayStation and Xbox, or give up. The Wii couldn't play games in HD, its online only worked once, and its controller was best known for breaking TVs. I'll take a very well calculated risk and say it failed. But I never said I was good at math. The total game library was massive and plentiful. I mean, where else could you play one of the best games of the entire generation in Super Mario Galaxy? Oh man, where do I even start with this thing? I don't know. The 3DS system itself has an interesting history, but before we can get to that, Nintendo has to finish its AA meeting. However, it was never actually released due to it being too expensive, leaving Nintendo's record with 3D a little worse for wear. They just couldn't stay away though, so when they needed the special sauce for the successor to their most successful product ever, guess what they turned to? I'll say every nice thing I have to say about Sticker Star before anything else. 1, the music is okay, and 2, the game looks okay. I really don't know how I'm unemployed. Is it unplayable, bug-ridden, or otherwise impossible to enjoy due to technical aspects? How did that get there? The lack of rewards in the battle system is not great, but that absolutely pales in comparison to this game's worst aspect: backtracking. Let me give you a little example from, I kid you not, World 1. For World 1-4, there's a windmill that's blocking a door. No biggie, I thought. I'll just use this fan thing I got from an earlier level. Unfortunately, I couldn't place it because it wasn't a sticker, so I couldn't progress in the level at all. Slightly annoyed, I went back to the main hub area, Petalburg, to see if there was anything that could help. Turns out, in a side area, there's a place where you can turn things into stickers. Would have been nice to know about this absolutely critical mechanic earlier. But anyways, I turned my fan into a sticker, went back to World 1-4, used the fan to move the windmill blades, and then went inside the windmill, only to find out I needed a number combination code to progress. After running around the level, I found a toad who needed me to escort him all the way back to Petalburg. The dentist office sounds really entertaining right about now. Finally, I take him there, I get the code, I go back to 1-4, I use the code, and I complete the level. That was level fucking 4. Life is finite, and Paper Mario Sticker Star made me realize that more than anything else. On the other hand, Sonic Generations was okay. I struggled to come up with more than 10 sentences when discussing Sonic Generations on 3DS. While it's never offensive, it was also never really memorable. It's not the worst Sonic game on 3DS, and if you have a couple hours to spare, it's better than doing crack. The little hybrid system that could change the way that I play video games. I went from playing Mario on the toilet to playing Mario on the toilet. While it did have some truly standout games, it only got 12 million people to buy in, a number not heard of since the Virtual Boy days. Nintendo was struggling. The 3DS was barely keeping them going, and they needed the next console to bang. And bang hard. So they took the Wii U and made it good. That's it. Talking about Super Mario Odyssey is actually a bit hard for me. It's a bit difficult to put into words how this game makes me feel, partially because of how much I love Super Mario Galaxy. I consider Super Mario Galaxy to be the best game of all time. Its atmosphere, planets, story, characters, music gave me some of the happiest memories of my life. And that's why it's kind of hard for me to talk about Super Mario Odyssey, because honestly, it might just be up there now. The only issue I have with the game is I genuinely don't know how Nintendo's gonna top it next time around. And when that's your only complaint, you know it's one of the greatest games of all time. But you can't be a beast, so Super Mario Galaxy is still the undisputed #1.
After talking about the game where Mario threw his cap, Mike finally decided it was time for a nap. When down in his house there rose such a clatter, he begrudgingly decided to see what was the matter. By the time Mike was there, the intruder had gone. But Mike could tell who it was that moved on. There was a piece of paper under the tree that hadn't been there before. What could it be? When Mike leaned down and saw what it was, he called it bogus. For it was none other than
an eviction notice.